Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
What happens when all these guys do come back from injury? What happens, right? Because Soroka's not the only one gone. Albies is gone right now. Arcia is gone right now. And with those guys specifically, Albies and Arcia, when they come back, the question remains, what do we do with Vaughn Grissom? And look, Vaughn Grissom has had a great start to his career. Entering play today, he had a .420 average, a .463 on-base percentage, 3 homers, and 10 RBIs. So, yeah, he's doing very well. That being said, you can't keep Ozzie Albies out of the lineup. He's earned that spot, and I don't think you can keep him, off of second base, to tell you the truth. It's been fun to watch Vaughn Grissom. He's had a great start to his career. And again, the bottom of the order has done great things with him in it. And you know what? I think Vaughn has been that spark plug. As much as Harris has done well and been that spark plug at the bottom of the order, I think Vaughn has come in and really added to that in a very positive way. And you know what? I think Ozzie is going to be making his way back in September. So where does Vaughn go? There's always the idea of the DH. Though Travis d'Arnaud and Contreras have sort of split that role alongside their catching duties. When they're not catching, they have been the DH. And I think that has worked well. I think it's kept them, in a routine and kept them having, every day at bats, which I'm sure has helped them. And to be honest with you, I don't necessarily want either one of those bats out of the lineup, especially in the postseason. And you're like, well, of course they wouldn't be out of there in the postseason. Remember, last year, Travis d'Arnaud caught every game of the postseason, every single one. And if that was the case, I don't want Contreras' bat not in the postseason. I don't know that I necessarily want Vaughn Grissom's bat out of the postseason. So to me, the only solution here is to put Vaughn Grissom in left field if he keeps hitting like this. Now, there's a chance that he doesn't continue on this trend. Right now, today he had an 0 for 4 game. Last night, he had 3 hits. There's a chance that, at some point he falls off. We don't know that. We'll only know that when it happens. But for right now, the dude's hitting. And you got to go with the guy who's successful. It may be that Ozzie struggles when he first comes back. We don't know exactly how this situation is going to play out. What we do know is that Vaughn Grissom is here. He is hitting well. And we got to find a spot for him in the lineup. Right now, I think that spot is left field. And, it's going to be tough. But an outfield that consists of Vaughn Grissom, Michael Harris, and Ronald Acuna is a pretty good outfield, at least at the moment. Now, a lot of you are going to go, okay, well, what about Grossman? What about Rosario? Those guys, I think, are honestly suited better for the bench than Vaughn Grissom is. I think the fact that Vaughn Grissom is seeing everyday pitching at the major league level and is getting, like I said about the catchers, a routine amount of at-bats is only going to help him, especially in times like the postseason. And it may be that, we see Vaughn face off against some really good pitching in the postseason, and he's not quite ready for it. At that point, go to Rosario Grossman. But for right now, if he's really just that good, if he's this level player and we got to keep him around, then I think left field is the only option. So that is going to be something that, again, we'll follow. And I know a lot of you are going to ask this question. I've already seen it in the chat, so I'll go ahead and try to answer it. Can Vaughn Grissom play left field? Well, first of all, it's not exactly the most demanding position, right? It's not shortstop, which Vaughn can play. It's not, something that just can't be learned. We saw Riley play that position, in 2019 when Donaldson was in the lineup. We've seen a lot of guys just move to that position. It's not exactly the hardest thing to learn, and being that he is so young, you can adapt to that. If he's going to play next year, he's going to have to find somewhere, and I think left field is a good option for him. He's fast. He can cover a lot of ground. And, guys, I'm going to be honest with you, just to be frank with you, Ozuna played left field. And to tell you the truth, I have more confidence in Vaughn Grissom learning that position than I do Ozuna playing it every day. And I'm not really knocking anybody there. I'm just saying I think Vaughn would be fine in left field. Now, granted, I don't know. I'm not with these guys every day. He might stink in left field. But right now, as an outsider who doesn't know this guy's talents through and through, I think that's the only logical place he can go once Ozzie returns. And it may be that they don't want Ozzie playing second base every day, and you see a platoon there. It may be that they don't want Ozzie in the field just yet because of his ankle. They want to keep him as DH, possibly, though I doubt it. So we will see. But right now, that's kind of where I'm at. And there's a lot of conversations that you can have about Vaughn Grissom after this year. There's plenty of them. Does Dansby re-sign? Is Vaughn Grissom the rightful shortstop if Dansby doesn't come back? There's plenty of those conversations. Those conversations we're going to have to save, till after the season, or at least until Dansby resigns. Then we'll kind of know what we're dealing with. Right now, we don't. There's plenty of different ways you can go about that, in the future. But for right now, for this year, I think the only viable option, once Ozzie does come back in September, which is soon, by the way, is to put Vaughn in left field, because I don't just see a major fall off happening. Because let's go back to Riley for a second. Back in 2019, this video is actually from that period. This was his first homer. This guy came out and hit 18 homers in his first month, and then we saw that fall off. We saw pitchers adjust to him and figure him out and that kind of thing. But at the same time, we saw the potential there. I don't see the same thing happening with Vaughn Grissom, because this is a guy who just finds a way to get on base. And if that's the case, he's a guy that I really want at the bottom of the order for the Braves, because, again, it feeds the top. Look how well Acuna's doing right now. Look how well Dansby's doing right now. Riley's doing right now. It's because they have guys on base, they're knocking them in, and they're finding a way to win because of that. And they have been great. Really, they have. And, again, we've talked about the whole Dansby-Swanson contract negotiations pretty extensively in past live stream videos. We've talked about that. But what Vaughn Grissom does do here in that scenario is give the Braves leverage with Dansby's negotiations. And you may not like talking about that. You may not like the idea of Dansby not being back. I don't particularly either. But what it does do is give the Braves the chance to go, hey, Dansby, as much as we want you back, we don't necessarily want to pay you this amount of money when we have Vaughn Grissom in the waiting. So it does do that. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that can go, and we could talk about that more in the future and as time goes on.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.